Hello guys and welcome back to Survivor UK, and today we're going to be talking about episode 2, and a lot of different dramas were happening. A lot of alliances are starting to form. The tribes are starting to splinter right down the middle, and this is where Survivor starts to get interesting because it becomes less about winning and more about protecting your own back. And I think a lot of the sort of tribe mates and the sort of castaways really realise that in this episode. Because if you're on the losing side of an alliance, you're going home. You're not making it very far in this competition. And I'll be very, very interested to see how long these friendships stay as they are before people start swapping and switching and working out what's best for them and not what's best for the group. Now, guys, if you are liking what you're seeing and you're enjoying this episode review of Survivor UK, then make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff that I know you guys do so well. It's been really supportive on the Big Brother videos, so I just want the same kind of support on these videos as well. Thank you guys very, very much, and let's get back on with the episode. So, let's start off by talking about what Calaton was up to after the tribal council last episode. So Shai is very, very much worried that he could be in the firing line, and he wants to make sure that he's on his best behavior. He's doing as much as he can to prevent any excuses being made to send him home. I think it's smart. I think he's realized that someone's voted for him. He doesn't know that that person was Rich. Was it Rich? No, it wasn't. It was Jess, I'm pretty sure, that voted for Shai. And that means that he's got a target on his back. He's on their radar as someone that could potentially go home. So it makes sense for him not to want to give them any excuses. It was nice to see that Calaton finally had some fire and were able to eat and sort of give themselves some nourishment. There was also a conversation between Tanuke and Nathan, I think it was, and it was a little bit of strategy, and they were talking about Shai, and then Shai walked in and it was a bit orcs. But yeah, that's pretty much all from Calaton from before the reward challenge. If we head over to Lenena now, there's a lot going on there, and there's a lot of distrust happening, a lot of different alliances starting to form. Ashley injured her hand in the immunity challenge. I think she got like severe rope burn or something like that. I'm not quite sure. The injury wasn't completely disclosed. But it means that it's preventing her from doing certain things, and she doesn't want it to impede her performance in this competition, but other people are very aware that it could. Doug also mentions that he wanted to take on Nathan, and Nathan's quite a built guy. Doug is a little bit scrawnier, and I couldn't see that going particularly well for him, and it just seemed like a little bit of a death sentence, if I'm being honest. So, the reward challenge was fairly simple, but it was also very entertaining, which I really, really wasn't expecting. They were asked to compete in like almost like a mud wrestling match or something like that, and they had to go up to the top of this slide thing, slide down, grab. They called it a ball, but it was like a thing in a net. It was really weird. And then they had to take it to their team's square, and if they got it in their team square, they got a point, but obviously the other person's trying to wrestle it off them. It was very, very entertaining, and I did think that it was actually quite a fun challenge. I don't think I would have enjoyed doing it, but like it was highly entertaining to watch, I gotta say. Christopher was up against Matthew first, and Christopher won. Rachel was up against Ren, and Rachel won. Lawrence was against Hannah, and Lawrence won. Tanuke was up against Rach, and Rach won. Shai was up against Lee, and Lee won. Although, I gotta say, when Lee won, it was a little bit villainous, because obviously, I think Shai had slipped or something on the slide, and so Lee had a huge advantage over him, and he just kind of stood and like did a little bit of, he might as well have done the Fortnite dance, because like that was the vibes it was giving. So going into the final sort of round, it was 3-2, I think it was. 3 to Lenena, 2 to Calaton. And up next was Nathan against Doug. And I gotta say, this was a crazy battle. A crazy battle. Because Nathan was just not letting Doug have it. Doug did win, but there was a shot where Doug was just on the ground and he looked battered and bruised. And then I blinked and suddenly Doug had won. So genuinely, I don't know what happened in that second, but he won and I was very surprised and impressed. So that means that Lenena won, and they won a load of fishing supplies and salt and pepper. Essentially, a lot of stuff that will help them survive for longer on the island. Yeah, it was a pretty fun challenge. I thought it was very entertaining, and I'm really rooting for Calaton. I think Calaton's my favourite tribe currently, because there's just a lot of people on Lenena that I'm not vibing with currently, and I don't know whether it's the show not really highlighting them, or whether it's just the fact that I don't particularly like them, but I prefer Calaton if I'm being 100% honest. So up next, we're going to talk about Calaton in between the reward and immunity challenge. Gotta be honest, there wasn't a lot going on. Everyone was kind of really determined to get going, get their like groove on, and win that immunity challenge, because no one wanted to end up back at Tribal Council tonight. And I gotta say, it seemed like they were in better spirits. I think losing 3 times really helped propel them forward and really helped give them a little bit more of a morale boost, because they were so determined. Everyone was sort of struggling with the hygiene in their clothes, and just sort of everything kind of smelled and everyone felt kind of dirty. Tanuke was sterilising her clothes and sort of boiling them, which I thought was very, very sensible to do. But like, it does raise the question of how many clothes are they actually allowed to bring away with them, because if it's just the clothes they've got on their back, like what? That's crazy. Surely they've got to have some kind of supplies. Now let's talk about Lenena, and Lenena is starting to splinter, and it's getting very, very juicy and very, very interesting. So Christopher and Hannah were having a conversation about Ashley's hand, and Hannah was like, oh, I don't know, like that could make her a potential target. What did Christopher do? Go straight to Ashley and tell her what Hannah had been saying. Honestly, I love the backstabbing, I love the drama, I love the sort of conversations that get spread around camp like wildfire. It makes it so much more interesting to watch, because we've got these people who have alliances, but obviously you've got to be careful who you talk to, because if you're talking to someone that's in the rival alliance, you're done. So it seems like an alliance has formed, made up of Sabrina, Pegleg, Doug, and Lee. And I gotta say, it's a very interesting foursome. It's not exactly who I would have pegged as being put together, but they all seem to be very sort of on the same level, with the fact that their target is Ashley or Rach. And the reason why Rach is a little bit of a target for that group is because she's just a little bit whiny. There was a moment where she was like, oh, I've got a fly in my eye, get it out, ew. And Pegleg was like, you're in a jungle, what were you expecting? And I was like, do you know what, I kind of do get where he's coming from. I think I would have sympathised with her, because I would not want to fly in my eye, but equally, you knew what you were getting into, so why are you surprised when it happens? We also found out that Sabrina is a grandma, and genuinely I could not believe it when she said that, because she looks so young. And obviously I don't know how old she is, she might have had children young, but genuinely, that was a little bit of a shocker. I will not cap with you right there. That was a shocker. But also, she's a marathon runner, and I think it's just so incredible that she came on this show to prove to her grandchildren that she can do it, and that grandmas can do that kind of thing. Okay, it's time to talk about the immunity challenge. And I gotta say, very, very interesting watching this play out, because it was really tough to call until something happened, and then it was like, oh, they've got such a lead that they're going to win. So it was called the RAFT and the Furious, which was quite funny. I did enjoy that name. And they essentially had to take rafts out, collect keys that were on barrels, then dive over into the water, unlock crates, or like untie crates, drag them back to their raft. Then once they had all the crates, take them back to the mainland, unlock them, take the bamboo out, and make a bamboo tower. But obviously the tower was a lot taller than anyone could reach, so you had to get on people's backs. Very confusing, challenge, and I think this is potentially a little bit of an overcomplication of what could have been quite an interesting challenge. However, it was quite neck and neck until they got to the untying crates underwater, and that's when Calaton took their huge lead. They got all of theirs untied before Lenena had even gotten their second one untied. And so, I think it was, who was in the water? It was Sabrina and Rach were in the water, and they were struggling to untie it. And Sabrina ended up swimming back so someone else could have a go, and then they ended up getting it untied, and then they got the third one, and they came back. By this point, Calaton had a massive lead on their tower, and they were building it. There was one point where a little bit of Calaton's tower collapsed, but they managed to rebuild it, and I don't think Lenena had a chance, if I'm being honest. Calaton was so determined. Lawrence literally walked in and said, we're going to give them a proper bashing, and a proper stomping. And do you know what? Lawrence is actually quite funny. He's got quite a dry wit about him, and I'm liking it. I'm liking it. But yeah, so Calaton won immunity, and Lenena was sent to Tribal Council. So obviously, the two people that really fucked that challenge up, Ashley sat out, I should say, so she had nothing to do with this. The two people that fucked that challenge up were Sabrina and Rach. They were unable to untie the crate. They wasted so much time on it, and then someone else had to come in place of Sabrina in order to untie it. Now, Sabrina, I thought, did the right thing and apologised for what had happened. However, she also apologised on Rach's behalf, and Rach behind her back was like, I'm not sorry, I did the best I could, so why are you apologising for me? And do you know what? I do kind of get where Rach is coming from. Sabrina did kind of take it on herself to apologise for both of them when Rach might not have wanted to apologise. I don't know, it did seem just a little bit odd. Then the alliances started forming, and it got really, really interesting, because Ashley's got this group. She's got Christopher, she's got Rach, she's got Ren to a certain extent, and then Doug. And if you remember from earlier, Doug was actually in Sabrina's alliance, and he turned on her. I think. I'm pretty sure he did, at least. And it's very, very interesting. It's very telling that this happened, because he went back to her. He told that group he'd made up his mind. He went back to Sabrina's group, told Sabrina that they were gunning for her, and then told her that he hadn't made his mind up. So really, who's he going to vote for? He is the swing vote, because if there's, I think on the other side it was Sabrina, Hannah, Pegleg and Lee. It's essentially 4v4. Doug is the deciding vote. And that is an incredible power to have. Especially because you can decide which alliance makes it further in the game. Bit crazy, if I'm honest. So, it's time for Tribal Council. And I thought it was actually a very juicy and interesting Tribal Council. No one really had anything to say for a little bit, and then Lee said some comments that really got people's backs up, and it caused a little bit of a kerfuffle. He essentially said, if you're going to volunteer, oh no, if you're wanting to be the winner, or be the winner, if you're wanting to be the swimmer, be the swimmer. And he was essentially calling out Rach for not being a strong enough, like, swimmer or person in the water to untie the crate. And she clapped back with, well, I only volunteered like anybody else did in this team. I volunteered, and that's not my issue. If, like, I did the best I could, and I'm sorry, but, like, I did the best I could. Then Sabrina chimes in with, well, my biggest struggle was the breath control. But Rach said that she's a singer and that she has great breath control. So essentially, Sabrina was kind of pushing the blame back on Rach. And I did think it was a little bit of a desperate plea to save her own skin. But as we found out, it was not gonna work. The voting came out and it looked like 5 people had voted for Sabrina, 2 people had voted for Rach, 2 people had voted for Ashley. So the alliance that Sabrina had couldn't even agree on a person to vote for, which sealed her exit essentially, which sucked because I did think she deserved to be in the competition a little bit longer because I was enjoying her and I did find her an interesting person. I thought she was doing this competition for all the right reasons, but she didn't exactly help herself in this episode. I cannot see Rach lasting much longer. I can't see Ashley lasting much longer. However, do I think the right decision was made this episode? Honestly, no. I think Rach should have gone home. However, the tribe decided, and so it must be done. So, thank you guys very, very much for watching, and I will see you guys next weekend for another couple of Survivor episodes. And if you're liking what you're seeing, I'm also doing Big Brother on my channel as well. And yeah, there's just plenty going on at the moment. The Traitors will be coming out soon. I might be recapping that as well. So make sure to keep updated. Hit that subscribe button, like, comment, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff. Hit that notification bell, all that YouTube stuff. You know, you guys do it so well. And I will see you guys later. Bye now.